Hello, I'm Ann Warren, Senior PR Director for Alpine Communications, and welcome to our next session of Hyperbaric's HPP Innovation Week 2021. We're glad you're joining us today. I'll be interviewing Wendy Alpine, President of Alpine Communications, and I have the pleasure of working with Wendy every day. She'll be talking with us about public relations, how it works, and the benefits for your business. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you, Ann. It's good to be here.
For the benefit of the audience, Alpine Communications is a public relations firm with expertise in the food industry. An award-winning PR firm, Alpine has been in business for over 20 years, serving clients in a variety of industries, including food, healthcare, and technology. Over the past 2 years, Alpine has worked with Hyperbaric, the world's leading HPP manufacturer, to increase its brand awareness and reputation. So let's get started. Well, thanks for joining us today, Wendy. I wanted to start with just a question, really, what's the value of PR for a business?
Okay. Well, Ann, in my opinion, companies need PR to build credibility and trust in their brand. After all, if no one knows about your product or service, how can you expect them to find it? PR helps get the word out, be it a new product, a milestone, a trend. The goal is to increase positive publicity for your product or service so that more people will buy it. One of the main ways to get the word out is through the media. PR professionals work with media to tell a company's story, but also to act as a bridge between the company and the media outlet. Sometimes that can be for good news. Other times it's to respond to controversial or bad news. We often walk a fine line. According to a Nielsen study, PR is 90% more effective than advertising in influencing consumers. That being said, getting a favorable mention of your brand, which is earned and not paid, holds much more weight than an ad. So is PR worth it? Today, there's so much competition, and companies need to use a myriad of tools in their arsenal to capture a person's attention. PR is one of them, and it's an important one.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Wendy. So that said then, what is the best way to get PR for your HPP product or equipment or service?
Sure. So one of the things to ask yourself is, what is your story? By that, I mean, what is new and different about your product? How are you different from your competition? What are the product's benefits? In the case of HPP, what technology do you use to keep your products safe, fresh, and tasting good? In each of these cases, try to show, not tell, why your product is the best. And one of the best ways to do this is through customer testimonials and case studies. As the PR firm for Hyperbaric, we often use case studies to get our foot in the door of the media. It becomes a win-win for the company and the customer as they both get good publicity. We've done that with a variety of Hyperbaric's customers, one of which is Intermountain HPP. Intermountain is an HPP toller that recently opened its doors. And we worked with a reporter who was looking for a customer who benefited from HPP. So we worked with this reporter to interview the president of Intermountain HPP, who discussed why he decided to buy his own HPP machine and become a toller. The article showcased the benefits of HPP through this Intermountain story and featured our client as the company he chose for the equipment manufacturer.
Yep, I mean, that's always great. Like having a third-party validation of your service or product is always, so much more meaningful than you just talking about yourself, right? So that's a great point, how important those client testimonials are. So things have been so crazy in the news cycle this year, of course, with the pandemic. And with COVID. So really, how have you seen COVID really impact the HPP story and companies' ability to get PR?
Well, we saw this a lot last year, and even this year with COVID, there's still stories about how COVID is impacting business and businesses return employees return to the workplace. In the beginning, media weren't that interested in your story unless you could tie it in some way to COVID. How was your business impacted? What did you do to protect workers and customers? So in one case, we worked with a food editor about this by, again, talking to a hyperbaric customer. The customer talked about how they took special precautions for health and safety and how they made changes to their business, such as focusing on fewer SKUs, fewer products to ensure quality and availability. The article gave the customer an opportunity to be transparent and discuss not only how COVID impacted them, but the good things they accomplished as a result.
Right. Yeah, it's always good to tie to what's going on in the news and how your business is relevant in the middle of whatever it is that's going on with the news and a news item. So what are some trends that you are seeing with the media right now?
I think COVID has impacted the media like it has most businesses. Since many media outlets had to cancel their in-person trade shows, many turned to personal videos, podcasting, and even virtual meetings, of course, webinars, which have always been popular but have become increasingly popular due to COVID. I think the trend in video and podcasting are here to stay. I think people like that. Let's hope so, because it gives PR professionals another way to get the word out and get their clients noticed. Social media, of course, is here to stay. And companies that leverage both social and traditional media well will be the ones to succeed in the coming years.
Yeah. So let's say you want some people that are listening right now want to kind of get started with some PR. Are there any free PR tools that companies can use to start to dip their toe in the water?
Sure. Well, there are some services that will distribute your press release for free. You need to just Google free PR distribution services. But they are somewhat limited. There's really no substitute for having good relationships with the media, knowing what media cover your products and services and industry, kind of getting to know what they write about. Of course, it's free to contact and reach out to editors and that type of thing, but you want to make sure when you do reach out to them that you are giving them a reason to write about your product, whether, again, it's a new product, a new service, it's part of a trend. So you just want to keep those things in mind when you do approach a media outlet, and also just really get to know the publication and what that reporter writes about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned social media very briefly earlier. Can you talk a little bit about that, and really how does social media play into PR?
Sure. Well, these days, every company needs to do social media as well as traditional media. And many companies use social media to promote their products and services. We're often asked, how do I start a social media program? What types of outlets should I post in? And there's so many today, and more coming on the market. But what you need to keep in mind is your target customer. So if you're selling to other businesses, we tell companies to start with LinkedIn and make sure you have a LinkedIn company profile and post messages and posts about, what's going on with your company, whether it's showcasing employees, new products, new services, also your customers. If the consumer is your target market, then of course, make sure you use Facebook, Instagram. TikTok is the newest thing now. Everybody loves TikTok with the videos, and possibly Twitter. Twitter has become a lot more controversial and political, but definitely I would say Facebook, Instagram, and if TikTok is something that you could look into as well, that would be good. Social media gives companies a way to toot their own horn and that of their customers, exactly how they want to present them, rather than having the confines of the media. And again, using social media makes sure that your products are relevant. So it's definitely a tool that companies should use.
Yeah, and it's a good way to engage with reporters and publications too, right? By tagging them or just commenting on their posts too. That's a good way to build those relationships with the media.
For sure.
Yeah,
it's definitely, definitely useful. I mean, I think the media appreciate that. A lot of the media today are judged by, how much social media interactions they have with readers and viewers. So as much as, like you said, you can tag them, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, and reshare their content too. That's always a good thing for them to see that you're paying attention to what they're writing about and that you care about it and that you're resharing it. So yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, thank you, Wendy, for spending some time with us today, and thank all of you for attending this session. If you want to learn more about Alpine Communications, you can visit alpinepr.com, and from there, you can connect with Wendy on social. We will see you all in the next session.
Thank you, Ann. It's been a pleasure.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.